Yakuza, Japanese, IPA, Yakuza, English, /Jakuz, Jakuz/, also known as Gokud, the Extreme Path, IPA, Gokdu, are members of transnational organized crime syndicates originating in Japan. The Japanese police and media, by request of the police, call them Ryokuden, violent groups, IPA, Bukta, while the Yakuza call themselves Ninki Dantai, chivalrous organizations, IPA, Iko Dantai. The English equivalent for the term Yakuza is gangster, meaning an individual involved in a mafia-like criminal organization. The Yakuza are known for their strict codes of conduct, their organized fiefdom nature, and several unconventional ritual practices such as yubitsume, or amputation of the left little finger. Members are often portrayed as males with heavily tattooed bodies and wearing fundashi, sometimes with a kimono or, in more recent years, a Western-style sharp suit covering them. This group is still regarded as being among the most sophisticated and wealthiest criminal organizations. At their height, the Yakuza maintained a large presence in the Japanese media, and they also operated internationally. In 1963, the number of Yakuza members and quasi-members reached a peak of 184,100. However, this number has drastically dropped, a decline attributed to changing market opportunities and several legal and social developments in Japan which discourage the growth of Yakuza membership. In 1991 it had 63,800 members and 27,200 quasi-members, but by 2022 it had only 11,400 members and 11,000 quasi-members. The Yakuza are aging because young people do not readily join, and their average age at the end of 2022 was 54.2 years, 5.4% in their 20s, 12.9% in their 30s, 26.3% in their 40s, 30.8% in their 50s, 12.5% in their 60s, and 11.6% in their 70s or older, with more than half of the members in their 50s or older. The Yakuza still regularly engage in an array of criminal activities, and many Japanese citizens remain fearful of the threat these individuals pose to their safety. There remains no strict prohibition on Yakuza membership in Japan today, although many pieces of legislation have been passed by the Japanese government aimed at impeding revenue and increasing liability for criminal activities. Etymology. The name Yakuza originates from the traditional Japanese card game Oichokabu, a game in which the goal is to draw 3 cards adding up to a score of 9. If the sum of the cards exceeds 10, its second digit is used as the score instead, and if the sum is exactly 10, the score is 0. If the 3 cards drawn are 8-9-3, pronounced Yakuza in Japanese, the sum is 20 and therefore the score is 0, making it a tie for the worst possible hand that can be drawn. In Japanese, the word Yakuza is commonly written in katakana. Origins. A Yakuza with a dragon tattoo is running to help his comrade, who is fighting against the police. Yakuza boss Shimizu Jiriko, Kogoro Yamamoto. Despite uncertainty about the single origin of Yakuza organizations, most modern Yakuza derive from 2 social classifications which emerged in the mid-Edo period, 1603–1868 Tekiya, those who primarily peddled illicit, stolen, or shoddy goods, and Bakuto, those who were involved in or participated in gambling. Tekiya, peddlers, ranked as one of the lowest social groups during the Edo period. As they began to form organizations of their own, they took over some administrative duties relating to commerce, such as stall allocation and protection of their commercial activities. During Shinto festivals, these peddlers opened stalls and some members were hired to act as security. Each peddler paid rent in exchange for a stall assignment and protection during the fair. The Tekiya were a highly structured and hierarchical group with the Oyabun, boss, at the top and Kobun, gang members, at the bottom. 15. This hierarchy resembles a structure similar to the family in traditional Japanese culture. The Oyabun was often regarded as a surrogate father, and the Kobun as surrogate children. During the Edo period, the government formally recognized the Tekiya. At this time, within the Tekiya, the Oyabun were appointed as supervisors and granted near samurai status, meaning they were allowed the dignity of a surname and 2 swords. Bakuto, gamblers, had a much lower social standing even than traders, as gambling was illegal. Many small gambling houses cropped up in abandoned temples or shrines at the edges of towns and villages all over Japan. Most of these gambling houses ran loan sharking businesses for clients, and they usually maintained their own security personnel. Society at large regarded the gambling houses themselves, as well as the Bakuto, with disdain. Much of the undesirable image of the Yakuza originates from Bakuto, this includes the name Yakuza itself. Because of the economic situation during the mid-Edo period and the predominance of the merchant class, developing Yakuza groups were composed of misfits and delinquents who had joined or formed the groups to extort customers in local markets by selling fake or shoddy goods. Shimizu Jiriko, 1820–1893, is Japan's most famous Yakuza and folk hero. He was born Kogoro Yamamoto, but changed his name when he was adopted, a common Japanese practice. His life and exploits were featured in 16 films between 1911 and 1940. The roots of the Yakuza survive today in initiation ceremonies, which incorporate tekiya or bakuto rituals. Although the modern Yakuza has diversified, some gangs still identify with one group or the other. For example, a gang whose primary source of income is illegal gambling may refer to themselves as Bakuto. Kyushu. Kyushu Island, the largest source of Yakuza members. Kyushu Island has long been the largest source of Yakuza members, including many renowned bosses in the Yamaguchi-gumi. Citation needed. Isakichi Yoshida, 1867–1936, from the Kita-Kyushu area was considered by whom, the first renowned modern Yakuza. Recently Shinobu Tsukasa and Kunio Inu, the bosses of the two most powerful clans in the Yamaguchi-gumi, originate from Kyushu. Fukuoka, the northernmost part of the island, has the largest number of designated syndicates among all of the prefectures. Organization and activities. Structure. Yakuza hierarchy. During the formation of the Yakuza, they adopted the traditional Japanese hierarchical structure of Oyabun-Kobun, where Kobun, lit foster child, owe their allegiance to the Oyabun, lit foster parent. In a much later period, the code of Jingi, justice and duty, was developed where loyalty and respect are a way of life. The Oyabun-Kobun relationship is formalized by ceremonial sharing of sake from a single cup. This ritual is not exclusive to the Yakuza, it is also commonly performed in traditional Japanese Shinto weddings, and may have been a part of sworn brotherhood relationships. During the World War II period in Japan, the more traditional tekiya/bakuto form of organization declined as the entire population was mobilized to participate in the war effort and society came under the control of the strict military government. However, after the war, the Yakuza adapted again. Prospective Yakuza come from all walks of life. The most romantic tales tell how Yakuza accept sons who have been abandoned or exiled by their parents. Many Yakuza start out in junior high school or high school as common street thugs or members of Psycho gangs. Perhaps because of its lower socio-economic status, numerous Yakuza members come from Buruk-Yuman and ethnic Korean backgrounds. Low-ranking youth may be referred to as Chinpira or Chimpira. Yakuza groups are headed by an Oyabun or Kyumish, family head, who gives orders to his subordinates, the Kobun. In this respect, the organization is a variation of the traditional Japanese senpai-kei, senior-junior, model. Members of Yakuza gangs cut their family ties and transfer their loyalty to the gang boss. They refer to each other as family members, fathers and elder and younger brothers. The Yakuza is populated almost entirely by men, and the very few women who are acknowledged are the wives of bosses, who are referred to by the title Ain-san, older sister. When the third Yamaguchi-gumi boss, Kazuo Daka, died in the early 1980s, his wife, Fumiko, took over as boss of Yamaguchi-gumi, albeit for a short time. Yakuza have a complex organizational structure. There is an overall boss of the syndicate, the Kumiko, and directly beneath him are the Seiko Koman, senior advisor, and Sohan Bucho, headquarters chief. The second in the chain of command is the Wakaga Shira, who governs several gangs in a region with the help of a fukuhanbucho who is himself responsible for several gangs. The regional gangs themselves are governed by their local boss, the Shaitsugashira. Each member's connection is ranked by the hierarchy of Sakazuki, sake sharing. Kumiko is at the top and controls various psychomen, senior advisors. The psychomen control their own turfs in different areas or cities. They have their own underlings, including other underbosses, advisors, accountants, and enforcers. Those who have received sake from Oyabun are part of the immediate family and ranked in terms of elder or younger brothers. However, each kobun, in turn, can offer Sakazuki as Oyabun to his underling to form an affiliated organization, which might in turn form lower-ranked organizations. In the Yamaguchi-gumi, which controls some 2,500 businesses and 500 Yakuza groups, there are fifth-rank subsidiary organizations. Rituals. An early example of Irajumi tattoos, 1870s. Yubitsum, also referred to as otashimi, or the cutting off of one's finger, is a form of penance or apology. Upon a first offense, the transgressor must cut off the tip of his left little finger and give the severed portion to his boss. Sometimes an underboss may do this in penance to the Oyabun if he wants to spare a member of his own gang from further retaliation. This practice has started to wane amongst the younger members, due to it being an easy identifier for police. Its origin stems from the traditional way of holding a Japanese sword. The bottom three fingers of each hand are used to grip the sword tightly, with the thumb and index fingers slightly loose. The removal of digits starting with the little finger and moving up the hand to the index finger progressively weakens a person's sword grip. The idea is that a person with a weak sword grip then has to rely more on the group for protection, reducing individual action. In recent years, prosthetic fingertips have been developed to disguise this distinctive appearance. Many Yakuza have full-body tattoos, including their genitalia. These tattoos, known as irajumi in Japan, are still often hand-poked, that is, the ink is inserted beneath the skin using non-electrical, handmade, and hand-held tools with needles of sharpened bamboo or steel. The procedure is expensive and painful, and can take years to complete. When Yakuza play oichokabyo cards with each other, they often remove their shirts or open them up and drape them around their waists. This enables them to display their full-body tattoos to each other. This is one of the few times that Yakuza display their tattoos to others, as they normally keep them concealed in public with long-sleeved and high-necked shirts. When new members join, they are often required to remove their trousers as well and reveal any lower body tattoos. 3 largest syndicates. The Yakuza are still active in Japan. Although Yakuza membership has declined since the implementation of the Anti-Boryo-Kyuden Act in 1992, the Japanese National Police Agency estimated in 2022 that approximately 11,400 Yakuza were engaged in illegal activity in Japan. The Yakuza do not consist of just one group, rather there are many different syndicate groups that together form one of the largest organized crime groups in the world. In recent years, the 3 major Yakuza syndicates have formed a loose alliance, and in April 2023, Kiyoshi Takayama, the Wakage Shira, second-in-command, of the Yamaguchi-gumi, Shuji Ogawa, the Kaike, chairman, of the Sumiyoshi Kai, and Kazuya Uchibori, J.A., the Kaike of the Inagawa Kai, held a social gathering. Principal families description Monday, Crest. Yamaguchi-gumi, Yamaguchi-gumi. The Yamaguchi-gumi is the largest Yakuza family, accounting for 30% of all Yakuza in Japan, with 3,800 members and 4,300 quasi-members as of 2022. From its headquarters in Kobe, it directs criminal activities throughout Japan. It is also involved in operations in Asia and the United States. Shinobu Tsukasa, also known as Kenichi Shinoda, is the Yamaguchi-gumi's current Oyabun. He follows an expansionist policy and has increased operations in Tokyo, which has not traditionally been the territory of the Yamaguchi-gumi. The Yamaguchi family is successful to the point where its name has become synonymous with Japanese organized crime in many parts of Asia outside Japan. Many Chinese or Korean persons who do not know the word Yakuza would know the name Yamaguchi-gumi, which is frequently portrayed in gangster films. One of the best-known bosses of the Yamaguchi-gumi was Kazuo Daka, the godfather of all godfathers, who was responsible for the syndicate's massive growth and success during the 20th century. Yamabishi. Sumiyoshi Kai. The Sumiyoshi Kai is the second largest Yakuza family, with an estimated 2,400 members and 1,400 quasi-members as of 2022. Sumiyoshi Kai is a confederation of smaller Yakuza groups. Its current head, Kaicho, is Shichiogawa. Structurally, Sumiyoshi Kai differs from its principal rival, the Yamaguchi-gumi, in that it functions like a federation. The chain of command is more relaxed, and its leadership is distributed among several other members. Inagawa Kai. The Inagawa Kai is the third largest Yakuza family in Japan, with roughly 1,900 members and 1,200 quasi-members as of 2022. It is based in the Tokyo-Yokohama area and was one of the first Yakuza families to expand its operations outside of Japan. Designated Bryokuden. A designated Boryokuden, Shite Bryokuden, 30 is a particularly harmful Yakuza group registered by the Prefectural Public Safety Commissions under the Organized Crime Countermeasures Law, Bryokuden Taisaku H. enacted in 1991. Groups are designated as Boryokuden if their members take advantage of the gang's influence to do business, are structured to have one leader, and have a large portion of their members hold criminal records. Under the Organized Crime Countermeasures Law, the Prefectural Public Safety Commissions have registered 24 syndicates as the designated Boryokuden groups. Fukuoka Prefecture has the largest number of designated Boryokuden groups among all of the prefectures, at 5, the Kudo Kai, the Taisha Kai, the Fukuhaku Kai, the Dojin Kai, and the Namikawa Kai. After the Organized Crime Countermeasures Law was enacted, many Yakuza syndicates made efforts to restructure to appear more professional and legitimate. Designated Boryokuden groups are usually large organizations, mostly formed before World War II, some before the Meiji Restoration of the 19th century. However, there are some exceptions such as the Namikawa Kai, which, with its blatant armed conflicts with the Dojin Kai, was registered only 2 years after its formation. In August 2021, the Fukuoka District Court sentenced Satoru Nomura, the fifth head of Kudo Kai, to death for murder and attempted murder. This was the first death sentence handed down to a designated Bryokuden head. Kudo Kai is the only one of the designated Bryokuden to be designated as a especially dangerous designated Bryokuden, Takudai Kaiken Shite Bryokuden, a more dangerous type of Bryokuden. If you like this video, please like, comment about your thoughts on this, subscribe and click the bell icon for further notifications.